Well, we kind of ended off after talking about that first bullet point. I think that kind of started to get carried away.
Yeah, it's hard to not get carried away about these bullet points.
It really is, because that's truly what this bill is going to be about, what this amendment is going to be about, is these changes. But at any rate, there's still 3 more bullet points we haven't even touched on here.
Yep. Yeah, the next bullet point is that any adult may freely possess or modify any property owned by them.
You know, I think we just ended off where I was talking about, if I went out and bought tools and I decided to go over to somebody's house and do some work for them because they wanted me to do some work for them, that I should be able to do that. Well, that includes this little section right here, because that is personal property owned by that person. And according to law these days, there's code. There's building code. You have to pull permits in order to modify a home for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's of course where my mind goes first. Where does yours?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for me too. Just the ability to modify your own property and do the things that you want to do to it. I guess a home is pretty much the only thing that really applies to with me.
Even cars.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about cars, but I'm just not really that much of a car guy that I would even sound like I knew what I was talking about. I was going to be you could put a huge turbo on your car that
absolutely
not street legal.
Yes.
And then you could have that.
Now
your car could be super fast. And I mean, I think that would be cool, but I just don't know enough about it to be able to say any more than that.
I think there's enough car enthusiasts out there that would probably agree with this. Modifying your own car to be street legal or not street legal. That's an aspect of this, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
I personally love the G-forces. Give me a car that'll do Mach 2 with my hair on fire, and I'm a happy boy.
Yeah, but that's not safe.
So, the thing is about that is everybody can argue safety, and that's just arguing regulation. The fact is, if I don't think that I can control my vehicle at 90 miles an hour sustained throughout this to go across the state, I'm not going to be doing 90 miles an hour, am I?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be sticking with a comfortable speed that I find reasonable. But in no way, shape, or form should that have any effect on the next guy. I have a good friend of mine, Ryan Phillips, down in Texas. He's on my racing crew. I love racing. CSR2, it's a wonderful online app. Everybody gets together. There's crews and everything. And people with a passion for racing tend to get together. Well, I can tell you one thing. If Ryan and I were to get together and we were to put together a car, that car wouldn't be street legal. and would we want to take the thing out and do a quarter mile run? Of course we would. But we would also have the common sense to not do it in an area where we're going to probably kill somebody,
Yeah.
So why is it that we should have laws that would regulate what we could do to that car? So it applies to that just as much as it would, say, your home. If say you wanted to re-support a balcony.
Yeah, you want to re-support a balcony, and then the thing's about to fall off and rip the side of your house off, but you can't do it without getting permits. Well, I guess that's a different
permission.
Story. Yeah.
Let's call this what it is, because it's not. It's a permit. That word alone should tell you something. You are permitted to do something.
Yeah, and so the whole thing for me on this, it kind of starts off when I was a kid. So I'm a kid, and then I want to change my room in some way, or maybe build a built-in shelf onto my room. And my dad's like, no, you can't do that. This is my house. And so I'm like, all right, I mean, who knows? Maybe my shelf would have sucked. But I was like, I understand it's your house. I'll just not do that. So then after that, then I'd move out and I'd rent a place. And I'm going to build this shelf I really want to build over on the wall. And then it's oh, you can't do that because this person owns the house. I'm like, all right, makes sense. I mean, I don't own this house. I probably shouldn't be tearing down the wall and building something on there anyway.
Right.
But now it's gotten to the point where And then I was like, all right, I'll just save up and I'll buy a house. So then I did. And then after I save up and buy a house, then they're like, oh yeah, well, the bank still owns part of that house, so you can't make any changes to it because the bank still owns part of that house. So the next few years, I just worked my ass off and like save up all my money, pay off my mortgage. Now I own the house free and clear. And so
you have bought and paid for in full a property,
yeah,
a home.
And so then at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm finally going to be able to build this shelf how I want to. Well, it turns out, like, I haven't gone to school for 2 years to learn how to build this shelf, and I don't have any previous experience building a shelf, and maybe it'll suck. Maybe it won't, but...
Nor are you licensed
to
build a shelf.
I never got the license to build a shelf either. So I still can't build this goddamn shelf. And all I need is for this permit to get this goddamn amendment to get passed. I can build a goddamn shelf.
Doesn't it seem ridiculous that you have to buy and pay for a property to be told that you can't do something with it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Come on now.
It's crazy.
That's just retarded. You know, structures being as they are these days, new construction is shit. And ask any tradesman, and they're going to tell you the exact same thing. What you did was you bought an older home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. You know, any tradesman is going to tell you that too. It's the old structure that's a good structure. It's still there for a reason. But it's these structures these days that have all this regulation put in it that are shit. You won't find a single tradesman out there that's going to buy a brand new home. Everybody wants the old construction home. So what's that telling you? What's this regulation doing for us?
Yeah, it's definitely not making the houses constructed better.
No. So at the end of the day, it's padding the pocket of a person that was paid to create a law.
Mm-hmm.
That we're supposed to listen to because he said.
Yeah, and if you want to build something in your own property, you should just be able to do it.
I'm pretty sure that guy didn't have any vested interest in your home when you were purchasing it, did he?
Yeah, like the city inspector, he's not gonna help you pay for your house. He's not gonna co-sign your mortgage,
and he's not gonna fix it if you fuck it up.
Yeah, all that he can do is just say you have to spend more money doing this, and you have to redo it, or you have to do it a different way, just so that I have my say in what way it's done. It's crazy that we would give someone else that kind of.
And most of the time, these people who are the inspectors haven't even served in the trades. I mean, how insane is this? You call yourself a professional in an arena of building, but you've never picked up a hammer.
Yeah.
Fuck off!
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to do my job. You know, I can tell these building inspectors how to build something a whole lot better than they could ever hope to. And that's where we need to get back to with this, is the private sector is where all this knowledge is. It isn't in governance. But yeah, any adult may freely possess or modify any property owned to them. So you buy your own car, you buy your own home, you're free to do with it as you see fit.
Yep.
You know, I when I was growing up, never once did I think that in my American dream of buying the home with the picket fence and having my 2.3 children with my wife and my 2 cars, that I was going to kowtow to somebody who thought that they knew better than me in any aspect of life.
Yeah. And there is people that know better than both of us about things, but they're not going to be the ones who are hired by the government, because they're going to be the ones out there doing amazing things, because they have the ability and the knowledge to do these amazing things, and they're going to be doing it.
And they have the demand because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
The free market takes care of itself, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it takes care of those who put in the effort to learn, and who gain knowledge.
Exactly. You know, a tradesman doesn't get up to $30, $35, $40 an hour just because he's in the trades. You know, I started off in the trades at $8 an hour, and I served my time. I busted my back, and I've gained all that knowledge. But that is all, as you said, on the job. You learn. You learn from the people who are the best. You learn at every turn. That's the human experience. We're here to learn.
And it's actually something that's being taken away by this first point, like where anybody can like freely sell their services to anyone else. Like say you don't know anything about the trades, like you know nothing, and then you go in and say the minimum wage wherever it is for this job, because it's like unionized or whatever, is like $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Like you can't go in, like no one's going to pay you that much for doing this job because you don't know how to do it and you don't have any experience. Like, so there's no way to really get started, or at least it seems like someone's just there kicking that bottom rung, like trying to get rid of it. And
that's kind of the way that I see the trades going these days, to be honest with you. And I believe Joe Rogan has the same thought process too, is because he's trying to get people back on board with the blue collar trades. You know, the more that people regulate stuff like that, the less people like me are inclined to take on anybody and pass on this knowledge and this information, which is the backbone of our entire civilization. People like me are why we have homes. They're why we have these buildings. You know, without being able to build stuff like this, what have we got?
yeah,
Seriously though, at $8 an hour is what I got trained. As a matter of fact, I think it was just a touch lower than that. Moot point. But at any rate, if you want to get into a trade, you have to have somebody who has that knowledge and that experience that wants to pass it on. And I think the people our age, and especially my age, I'm just a few years older here, we want to pass this knowledge along, but what's standing in our way here?
Yeah, like it's almost impossible to hire somebody because you'd have to pay all the taxes.
Insurance.
Yeah, unemployment insurance, the Social Security taxes, and then like all their taxes that come out of that. And so like, yeah, it's just the amount of money that you have to pay someone who doesn't know what they're doing is going to be like a huge loss to you.
Enormous.
For a long time.
Enormous.
Until they learn how to do it. And if you could just pay them like whatever they're actually worth to you at that point, then like everyone would just be able to get a job if they wanted to get a job. Like anybody would be able to go there. Like if they could be fired the next day just as easily, or even like an hour later if you're like, this guy just sucks, and then
believe you me, that happens in the trades.
Yeah,
it does. You know, there are people who are meant to do it and people who just clearly aren't. Either you can hack it or you can't. And in the trades, it's called being a man. Manning up. And yes, your back's gonna hurt. Yes, your hips are gonna hurt. Yes, your knees are gonna hurt. But you know what? It's knowledge. And with that knowledge and the experience that you're building, you know, I can leave this society right now and go build myself a home in the middle of nowhere. And just say, off society. What if every one of the tradesmen did that in this entire nation?
Yeah, that's actually what. There's actually been books about that.
Has there?
Yeah, like that book by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. Like
Atlas Shrugged?
Everyone who provided like a meaningful like trade or whatever in this society, they just left. They all went into their own thing, and they just left everyone else who was just like leeching off the system to fend for themselves, and all the production and everything was just pretty much gone. And then all you had is all these guys trying to tell people who didn't know how to do everything.
Consumer society consuming itself.
Yeah. It's a pretty good story. It gets a lot of hate, but
hey,
it's a good story.
Truth is the truth. It doesn't matter if people hate it or not. You know, if people hate the truth so much, then maybe they'll change something, won't they?
Yeah, so one problem I see with this whole thing getting passed as the way that it was written with those 2 points is just the federal government would come in and then they would say that these things have to be enforced the way that it is on federal law. Like it has to these things are going to have to be enforced this way, and you're going to have to use your own money to do it. And they could come to South Dakota and say that.
They could. They do that all the time with the states.
Yeah.
They use money as a leverage to get their way with each state. That's how the federal government gets so much power. But the one thing that we need to remember here is government is just a word like dirt. It has no meaning behind it. And government is just a word. It isn't some monster that's going to come down out of the clouds and eat you whole if you disobey. It is not an entity. It is humans. It is humans like you, and it's humans like me. And that's where a lot of the message gets lost, is people believe in this huge thing that's just going to eat them alive. I don't understand that mentality. Not coming from the perspective of a free man.
Yeah, but it's what we're really fed through the media every day.
It is.
Is that, like, this thing is so huge and it can't be changed. And
it can't be changed if nobody does anything about it.
Mm-hmm. I really don't believe that it can be changed through, like, electing specific people either, because all those people, once they get the power, they're just gonna, like, wield it however they want. Like, and even if they did have the best intentions, like, even if like I got elected myself, I feel like I wouldn't be able to get anything done as far as, like, deregulating the economy, no matter what position it was. Like, whether, even if you got elected all the way to president, it's still just going to be impossible. Because
the system itself is a perpetuating system.
It is. And it was really good, like, right at first when it was created. Like, it worked really well because it had these limits on it that were
checks and balances.
Yeah, like the Constitution was this huge check on, like, how big everything could be, and it said that, like, this is what you can do and nothing else.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we just started off with those 10 federal ones, and then it just moved on from there. But anyway, I also added a clause onto this amendment that funds, I'll just read it. It says, no public funds of this state or any public or any political subdivision of this state shall be allocated to the implementation, regulation, or enforcement of any federal law, executive order, rule, or regulation that's in violation of this section.
You know, that's rather complex.
It is.
That's a lot of legal speak going on there, and a lot of different aspects that is coming from. But the nitty gritty of it is what? It's
pretty much just that no money that comes from this state, like through taxation, or that our state government has in any way, is going to be able to be spent on anything that's in violation of, like, people freely buying and selling or modifying their own property or services.
So basically, that's just saying that if the feds want to come in and enforce law, federal law, they can't come in and say, South Dakota, you need to take your officials to do our business.
Yeah.
They would have to physically come in themselves to do it.
They would.
Okay.
Or, like, hire people using federal money to do the things.
But in no way, shape, or form would they be allowed to be employed by or in interest of any state entity in order to do that job.
And all this stuff we're saying South Dakota just because this is the state where we live in, where we're trying to push this.
This could go
this
anywhere.
Through. Yeah, like, if you want, you can go to comingfreedom.com. You can download this and you can send it to your own state officials as a constitutional amendment, and then you can, like, get this thing passed in your own state.
That's a brilliant idea.
And yeah, if we had a few states doing this, I don't care which one passes it, but I'm moving there.
Absolutely. I'm there in 2 seconds flat.
If we can get this to happen, I think it's going to make whatever state it happens in a lot better place.
Well, it's gonna reinstitute the middle class and true freedom of choice.